Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Glendale Housing Authority meeting of July 29th, 2008. After the 5.8 earthquake, we're still here. Maybe have a roll call for the authority, please.
Authority members: Freeman. Here. Wincy. Here. Najarian. Here. Parazian. Here. Quintero. Here. Weaver. Here. Chairman Yusefian.
Here. I guess it's 5.4 now. Number keeps changing. May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the July 29, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, July 24, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
What's next, please?
Next is approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second. The minutes will stay approved as submitted, without correction. What's next, please?
Next is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for an investigation and a report.
Herbert Milano. 5 minutes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Herbert Milano, members of the agency, Housing Authority, and city staff. I want to take the opportunity to highlight the advantages we could have by having the City Council and this agency members participate in giving or providing some of the key measures that you yourselves may think are relevant to this particular report. I want to bring up the how some of these measures might come about, or how they could be developed. I want to talk slightly about fire and safety. The question may be, how safe are we? Glendale is fortunate to have 3 hospitals that are dispersed amazingly adequately for the city. But the question I have is, if you are picked up by a paramedic today, what percentage of the time will you be taken away from the local hospitals to a hospital far away? And that would be a determinant of how safe we are with regard to the accessibility of emergency room services. Now, if you were to have a heart attack today, what would be the likelihood that you would arrive at the hospital with a heartbeat? Now, that is the measure that is taken by other cities. We don't do that. You see, when we measure, for example, the response time, the access to hospitals, how much we pay in salaries and pensions, how much training and experience, all of those measures are indirect and they're not really as relevant as a final number that tells you what is the likelihood that you will survive a heart attack by arriving at the emergency room still alive. Well, if you live in the city of Seattle, the likelihood that you will arrive at the hospital with a heartbeat is 41%. If you live in the city of San Francisco, it's 18%. If you live in the city of Glendale, we don't know. So no one has really bothered to look at the true measures of how effective we are. And this is one that is, in the, no pun intended, in the hearts and minds of many people, that we do need to know how effective and what kind of outcomes we're getting from the type of expenditures that we have. Fire and police account for 48% of our general fund. And that is a much greater number than you find in many other cities. So I think that we should be asking those types of effectiveness questions with regard to other issues having to do with fire and police as well. And I would invite you to perhaps contribute some of those key measures that you feel are appropriate and start becoming more engaged in the process of creating the quality of life measures. Thank you.
I have no more cards. What's next, please?
Authority member or staff comments.
Mr. Draymond.
I have an announcement of sorts, and I'm glad Mr. Milano is still here because it relates to, or is here because it relates to some discussion at a previous, I guess probably a joint meeting that included the Housing Authority, and it's also an issue that he has been talking about for some time that prompted me to go and do some research initially about metering that allows for a homeowner to be able to look at the numbers and have an idea of what their usage is as they're using, in this case, electricity. and therefore to be able to cut back on their usage and save themselves some money. You may recall we were talking about a particular project here, and we were talking about some of the green aspects of the building, and one of the things that I asked them to look at was the metering, smart meters, and certainly they are not at this time required to do that. But I did receive a call from, or a contact, I should say, from their contractor telling me that they are indeed going to go forward with that, for that building anyway, and that the city could consider it as part of a trial of this. The meters are easily installed. The meters are not terribly expensive. In fact, they're less expensive than some conventional meters. And since with affordable housing, we're looking at a population of tenancy in a building that, by economic demographics, is going to be looking at where they can conserve income. This is perfect, and it will be not just a tool that helps conserve the use of power, but it will be actually a great tool for them as residents in this building to be able to help their own personal economy. And then it also has the spin-off benefit of just making everybody more conscious of how many resources we are using and to what extent. So I wanted to announce that here. I'm extremely happy with them that they have taken it upon themselves to do that, when obviously they're not required to at this time.
What project was it?
This is the 40 unit, the ADI...
Vassar Villas?
Vassar Village.
Okay.
Vassar Villas. So I think they'd be complimented on that. And there was not a significant amount of arm twisting from anybody. They saw the logic of it, investigated it, and so I think that's terrific. Anyway, I just wanted to make the announcement because, Mr. Milano, you're the one that brought it to my attention first, and that was months and months, well, last year, actually. And that caused me to start looking at it, and it was what prompted me to raise it that day. So, Mr. Chair, I thank you.
Well, anyone else? Okay, what I'd like to do is ask the staff to, in a near future, to agendize a discussion that was brought up by Mr. Najarian, the issue of rent arbitration or mediation, rent mediation, sorry, not arbitration. I like that information that was done a few years ago, back together, put it in an agenda item, bring it in here so we could discuss that and see what effects it will take. And I would like to have Mr. Milano also get a copy of that. I know he was very instrumental in a lot of the mediation issues. I like to discuss that. So that's.
Mr. Chair, we went back and we researched all the agenda items, and we couldn't find an agenda item on rent mediation. So,
but there was a report put together back then.
okay, I'll have to get it.
There was a report.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
It may have been a part of the discussion about the rent control, and also so it may be a part of it, but it was not a separate item all by itself. So if you go look at some of those, you may find a little section in there that alluded to it or talked about it.
Okay, and I'll check with the city attorney. He probably.
I recall a draft motion as well that addressed it, so I can try to
So
get
if you
this. I'll try to do some
get
work as
together and get that, so just bring it to us, so then we can have a little discussion and debate on this and put it to bed.
And
Thank you.
I think that was about November '03, give or take.
Okay. All right.
Move we adjourn. Second.
We're adjourned.